jump in.
Yeah. Anybody with questions? I see in the group chat may mga questions directed straight to our speakers. Betch, area mo tong mga igneous petrology. Kung may question ka. And everyone else. Sige, Bayani, go ahead with your question.
So kay Ren, if he's still around, may tanong ako. Are you still around, Ren?
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, actually, bagong lahat. I mean, this was an amazing session. It's really great to see all the cutting edge work done by your generation. It's really impressive, actually. Nanlilito ako because I would not have done what you're able to do, especially in same phase in my career. It's really amazing. So kudos to everybody. It's nice to see it. So Ren, actually, reactive transport modeling, medyo hobby ko yun minsan pag nabobore ako. So quick question on what you did. So the diffusion coefficient, is it something you prescribe, the typical diffusion coefficient for these things, or is it something you fit?
Oh, so it's actually been measured
right. So
decades ago now for, at least for sulfate.
Right, so it's a known parameter.
Yep.
And your reaction term, it's distributed in the z-axis. Hindi siya bulk reaction para sa lahat, di ba?
It's actually more of a bulk reaction for the whole thing.
Is it bulk reaction?
Integrated sulfate reduction rate, yeah.
Okay. My question really is, if you look at that model, the reactions happen throughout the column, right? But the diffusion should happen from the top boundary, which is where all the gradients would come from. So the things that are being reacted, the products, if it's true diffusion and if it's no steady state, you said there's no quasi-advection, which is the really deposition, right? Because I assume there's no fluid advection because of low permeability, or you're in marine sediments.
Yep.
But what that means is all the products stay in the sediment. The diffusion is probably super slow, right? If you're having a reaction all the way going down to the bottom because it's bulk, and some of that material may not make it back to the ocean, to the water, right? So in effect, even though there's reactions going on, they're in the aqueous phase, but they're sequestered in the sediment without real transport going out. So I wonder what you think about how there would really be feedback to the ocean cycle, the ocean budget.
Yeah, so so the way that we were thinking about this is more of like millions of years of time scales, right? So something that wasn't really discussed in the presentation was, so it mainly focused on the outputs from the system, but not really the inputs. And you can actually see this in the literature as well. The way that they discuss all of these things is that, oh, there's an in, there's an out. So what is the actual in? So it's actually mostly coming from weathering, right? So we have to think about this not as a direct exchange with the ocean, but mostly actually, okay, eventually this thing that is being buried here and sequestered here is going to be...
You're viewing it basically more as a reactor, as a part of the system.
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay, John, then, it's pretty interesting what you did with the lead. Thanks, friend.
Sure.
So what, I may have missed it. It's nice that you found the sources by isotopic tracing, but how much lead has been added is my question. Does it really matter? Obviously, you can track anything with isotopes, but is it a trickle or is it potentially profoundly changing lead budgets in that part of the world?
So I would say that the concentrations of lead in the Arctic is still generally very low. And right now, we're still actually trying to figure out like the exact mechanisms of how
I guess my question is, I think it will remain low, but in a relative sense, right? Has it increased by 5%, by 1%, by 50%, even though it still is a trace element, right? It's still in
the problem is there's not a lot of comparison because this is one of the earliest data that we have in the Arctic. So, so this is going to be the concentration data of the concentration data is the first set of data for the Arctic actually. So there's not a lot of comparison. But what I can say what we can see is that while we see this very low concentrations, the one that is coming from the one with this historic duration-led signature is at least 2 to 3 times higher than the concentrations from, let's say, from the other water depths. So, but we don't know if, and we measure this in some depths, but not in the entirety of the Arctic Ocean. So we don't know yet the extent of this thing.
Yeah, how do you tease out contribution from watersheds? Right, there's a lot of big Arctic rivers. So some of that dry deposition is making it on land and potentially getting flushed through rivers.
So with this one, I don't see. So the major, the one way to do that is to look at the salinity, like pair it up with salinity. And if you have like low salinity, you can say that, oh, it's coming from the river. And they've done it for other trace elements. For example, for iron, there are some studies showing that, okay, this iron concentration, of course, also has like low salinity, so it must be coming from the river. But in the case of lead, I don't see any correlation also with salinity. So I don't think it's coming from the river. My best guess right now is it's coming from the shelf, like some of the suspended sediments there. Some of the suspended materials there are probably just getting resuspended. But it's not very, like I can't really tell the exact mechanism for sure.
Cool. Thank you. So thanks, John. We're over schedule by a little bit, I think, but it's been worth it for me. At least I learned a lot. I hope everybody learned a lot. It's great to see that we have still more than 100 people here. I think we had close to 150 at the peak. So clearly, the topics were very important. Everybody was engaged. Speakers were great. So I think maybe if there's a couple last questions, let's entertain them. Now's your chance. I think it would have been fun, CP, to see all these great scientists go after each other, actually, and ask each other questions. I
know.
But because there's a lot of overlaps, and I think that's really the message here. I think for many younger scientists and even older ones, before we all saw these fields as silos. That's not the case. I think what hopefully happened for people who are watching is you're seeing connections between all these things. And we're seeing those in questions too, right? In how, the questions that were typed in, there's a lot of implications on other related processes to the biosphere, the geosphere, and the atmosphere.
Right.
So it's really great. I think maybe...
But Bayani, related to what you are saying, so it's a special request to our speakers to always think of collaborating with other Filipino scientists, whether they be in other institutions abroad or in the Philippines. No, there are a lot of connections, as Bayani mentioned. No, and this is the only way that we can grow our network. If you progress with your career in your current institutions, perfect. No, if we find you guys back here in the Philippines, that's also perfect. And what Bayani was saying is that we should start looking at those connections and collaborate. Any more questions? Last request ko ay, yes, Ma'am Giselle, you wanted to?
So I just got this great realization that these parallel sessions are a way for us to interact among ourselves. And while you may not be ready to come home for good, and then you'll say, why will I be in the Philippines when we don't have the instruments and the facilities and all other opportunities here? And that's a valid concern, but it doesn't mean that you cannot contribute and connect with us. And the interactions and discussions, the scientific quality of this meeting is top-notch. It's so nice to see so many young Filipinos, males and females, doing top-notch work in leading centers in the world. So at the very least, CP and Bayani, can you please keep this group intact and invite or nominate many of them to the PAASE, because it's really a virtual uh, group that we have in PAASE, and it's really a source of seeds for collaboration. And so we would like to have many more members in the research expertise cluster on geology. So PASA is now about 400 members, and right now it's not yet formally organized. It doesn't have this structure of divisions or groupings, but we're doing it informally or in a flexible way. So our parallel session hosts are the de facto first group leaders. I hope you'll accept that, CP and Bayani. And then, well, there's another geology session that Alisa and I are co-hosting, but that's really Alisa. And Rene Solidum will be a speaker, okay, and another faculty in NIGS. So I hope that you guys can keep this group together. And in PAASE, within PAASE, you can accomplish so much, I think, in terms of collaborations and real contributions to our country. So thank you for this, CP and Bayani and everyone.
Thanks, Ma'am Giselle. When is the next geology session with Alisa?
If Alisa is still here, let me check now. It's we just kind of posted or got all the materials ready.
July 31.
July 31.
Yes.
July 31. Okay. We'll put that in our calendar.
Remember, I wanted you to have separate sessions, Bayani and CP, and then you said you'd combine.
Yeah.
And then I said, wow, it's a pity if you don't make use of that session that day, the third session. So Alisa and I came up with another one.
No, but Ma'am Giselle, even beyond the PAASE conference, I think Bayani and I will organize another one, because I mentioned earlier to the group that when Bayani and I were looking for speakers and we wanted all these young researchers in the cutting edge topics of geology, doing those research, we actually found like 24 of them.
That's amazing.
So kaya pang mag-organize ng one or two more.
There's nothing to stop you from doing it. It doesn't have to be PAASE, but if you were in the PAASE group, it would be the activity of your cluster. Then you'd announce it anytime of the year, any month, but you'd announce it to all of us. And there are enough of us outside your field who are interested in what you're doing. Seriously. So I couldn't tell you a lot more about what we're doing or what we were doing in my group. I'm now retired, that CP. But I'm still, involved in the...
Parang gusto ko na nga rin mag-retire kasi the next generation, they're here already.
Oo nga. So it's really...
Ako rin.
Feeling,
Okay.
Yeah, the continuity. I saw Jun Yumol here. I saw, so many people. So you just have to ensure the continuity of your research through the young ones.
I think we're in good hands naman. So
We're
we have
in good
that
hands.
critical number.
If you can't yet come back, I mean, it's understandable. On the other hand, I'm in touch with Sec Boy and I also, Dev, and they're always looking for DOST Balik scientists. And UP had this program, which I set up. And then some of you, a fraction of you may be ready to come home at some point. Who knows? And I always say, you're the guys, you're the gals who will determine which infrastructure, which facilities, which instruments are best in your institute or in the whole UP system. See, it's not
okay. It's like an open invitation to you guys. But I know JD is...
Yeah. So I think Alisa being here and being an AVP, in Quezon Hall, she can communicate this to the VP, St. Bautista, and to the president that, they should revive the UP Balik PhD faculty program. Come home to UP for good. For good is meaning. Do good and also for good. But if you can't come home, it's fine. There's so many ways, different ways for you to help us.
Agree. Yes.
Some of you have to remain there kasi nandun yung cutting edge, yung top notch. Nandun yung instrumentation, nandun yung mga cruises, di ba? So, ganun lang. We just give it our best effort. So, thank you very much again, everyone.
And I think, Ma'am Giselle, that's a good closing statement for our session. Bayani, if you want to add anything else, let's just do it again.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
should.
With another set of speakers.
I think I'm really floored by the amazing science, and we're only seeing a fraction of it.
I know.
And there's more to
Grow
come
the
from all
numbers.
these great young scientists. They're only getting started.
They're
So,
only getting started.
Yeah. And
hopefully,
parang they're getting younger and younger.
tumatanda ka lang, CP.
Pero ako naniniwala ko talaga na hindi na sufficient ang PhD. You really need several years of postdoc. Okay? Because when you finish your postdoctoral fellowship, means you're an independent researcher. You can write a grant, you can, manage some people. So, don't be in a hurry. Just do your postdocs.
Isisingit ko na rin, Bayani and Giselle. Of course, NIGS hasn't produced a PhD in a long time.
Yeah.
And it's been our parang goal at the back of our mind, no? Pero laging naglalaban yung ang laki nung experience part then of going out and doing your PhD or postdoc outside. So maybe there's a hybrid solution wherein we have this network of Filipino scientists abroad, and then they do their PhD in NIGS, but they go from one lab to the next in the Filipino scientists that we have in our network. Something like a sandwich program.
So, I have to tell you again. So I bring back to the group all the programs that I established in OVPAA. And there is a cooperate program where our PhD and master students are given support by the UP, at least during our time, 2 years to spend time in the collaborators. It's perfect for the PAASE. So for the PAASE members based abroad.
Sige, we'll explore that.
All that, no? And then your TATF. See, that's also support. Then getting your retirees who teach well to teach so that your faculty who do not yet have their PhDs can finish their PhDs. So there's so many programs that we establish, and it's an integrated approach just to get more PhDs produced by the NIGS. Collaborate with the rest of your colleagues abroad so that you multiply yourself. So imagine there's so few PhD faculty in UP, not just in say NIGS, no? So you would be multiplying yourself and getting more masters and PhD students if you had collaborators who could co-mentor, who could be the co-advisees of your students.
I think that's a good start.
Yeah, it's all in place. Yes.
Okay. So that's a good closing statement, Ma'am Giselle. Thank you again for organizing the conference. We'll invite our young researchers to PAASE after this. Thanks, Bayani. No? And special thanks to JD and Miko, stayed this whole time. It's like 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. their time. They're in Europe, Ma'am Giselle.
Yeah, I know.
And if it's okay for everyone, there's still 113 of us in the Zoom meeting. We'll use this as like an email group already.
Yes.
Sige.
Top notch so far in terms of attendance, CP, as you promised. So far among the parallel sessions, you have the greatest number.
Yeah, we had 155.
Amazing. So your report
earlier.
Yeah, we're going to do the summaries.
Sige.
Wonderful. Congratulations again, everyone, and keep in touch.
Okay.
Keep focused.
Special thanks to our speakers and all those who attended. I can't mention everyone. I saw Bebot Jumampo. I saw Rex earlier. Boss Vic, everyone, yung mga the more senior ones from NIGS, they're all here. Dr. Laraya, of course, is still here. So we'll just do it again, Ma'am Giselle and Bayani.
Fantastic.
It's a start.
You need a screenshot.
Okay.
Did you do a screenshot?
I did earlier.
All right. Okay.
Okay.
Thank
so
you.
all for now. Thank you everyone for tuning in. And we'll do an email group
Thank you.
for the
Salamat.
next schedule. Okay, bye-bye everyone.
Salamat po. Bye-bye.
Good to see you, Joanne.
Yes, sige. Bye-bye.
Dr. Laraya, thanks.
CP. Ingat.
Thanks, Bayan.
Salamat din, CP.
Tulog na, Nico. JD, tulog ka na. Thanks, Grace.
Thank you, Sir CP. Bye.